Welcome to MMA on the Rocks. My name is Bill Welker. You are listening to episode 220 of the podcast, or you're joining us live on Facebook or YouTube. Today is Sunday, December 6th. Holidays are fast approaching. Everybody's talking about, holiday shopping and all of that lovely stuff and decorations and everything that comes along with it. Socially distanced, of course. Before we get into any of the MMA action that took place over the weekend, let me introduce my co-pilot back after a week off, all the way from what I imagine is very frigid New Jersey, Jeff, the animal Wilson. Jeff, a little earlier on a Sunday than usual. How you feeling, my friend?
Bill, I feel fantastic, man. We had a short card last night, but it was still exciting nonetheless. Bill, how's your weekend been? I know that Christmas down south feels and looks a lot different. There's a lot more color. I'm waiting for the snow to come in, Bill, but how's it going down there?
Yeah, no snow, but it has gotten a little colder. Like it's gotten down to I think the 40s at night and in the morning last week. We had a little cold front come in, and then it's been nice. Like it was like 55 this morning, and it warmed up. I think it's like just under 70 now. So this is perfect weather for me. Yeah, it's 68 degrees. Uh, I don't really like the heat, but I hate the very cold to the point where it's snowing. So it can get down to like 30 degrees or so. As long as it's not snowing, I'm fine, Jeff. Um, how's it looking up there? You guys expecting any flurries anytime soon?
It's starting to get chilly, like really chilly, which I love, Bill. You know me. I like wearing hoodies. I don't like jackets, but I like hoodies. And so far, there is no sign of snow, but I like the cold, so usually we get snow like January ish.
Well, speaking of hoodies, Jeff, our friends at Team Reaper happen to make MMA on the Rocks hoodies that say "Over the Top, Under the Influence." So if you're looking for any last minute Christmas gifts, I don't know that it'd be last minute, but I know everything's held up with deliveries and things because everybody's ordering all their Christmas gifts, right, Jeff? Nobody's going to the mall or any of that nonsense. There's a pandemic going on. I don't know if you've heard. Anyway, our friends at Team Reaper make MMA on the Rocks hoodies and T-shirts, so you can grab yours from their website, reaper1.co, or I'll put a direct link right in the show notes wherever you happen to be watching or listening. Yeah, so let's talk some fights, Jeff. This was a really exciting card, a lot of great fights.
Bill, I lost you. Oh, you good?
Am I back?
Yeah, now you're back.
Okay. I didn't mind that there were fewer fights on this card, but I hated that they were dragging it out so long. Like, why not just keep the start time at 7 and just do fight after fight until it's done? I don't understand why they have to have a main card start at 10 o'clock. Um, it's like you're not going to do fantastic numbers with this lineup anyway. You don't have a whole lot of star power on this card. But that's just my grumpy old ass uh, wishing that these things would be over earlier because I struggle to get through the end of these cards sometimes. All right, so let's start at the top, Jeff. This was a last minute fight that was put together. I'm not really sure why. So it was supposed to be Kevin Holland and Jack Hermansson. Kevin Holland tested positive for COVID, so they took him off the card, understandably. But now he's going to fight Jacare next week, and Jacare was supposed to fight Marvin Vettori. So they just kind of shuffled those two around. It makes no sense to me why they did that. I don't see what's going to be different with Kevin Holland in a week. Like, obviously, if he has COVID, he can't be training or anything. If he has symptoms, it's going to be really hard for him to cut weight. I don't know what happened, Jeff. And I'm not into conspiracies, so I'm not going to think too hard about it. So let's just talk about the fight that we did get, which was a really exciting matchup. And you thought it was going to be pretty one-sided after the first round when Vettori just kind of beat Hermansson down, almost finished him in that round. And then the second round, more of the same. And then Hermansson came on. I scored the third for him. I think I also scored the fourth for him. And then the fifth I gave to Marvin. So it was close and really high volume of strikes. I think they passed Adesanya and Gastelum for the amount of strikes, most strikes in a middleweight match, something like that. I remember hearing some kind of stat like that, but I don't keep the volume on too high. Maybe I'm making it up. I don't know, but give me your thoughts on this main event, Jeff.
Bill, I thought it would be one-sided. I thought it would be more for Hermansson, considering that the streak he's been on, basically submitting whoever they put in front of him. And Marvin Vettori, I like Marvin Vettori. I'm a fan of his, but I feel like he's always been just like a half step off the upper echelon of the middleweight division here. Maybe it's ever since his loss to Israel Adesanya, I felt like that's been his whole fight career. Like, he's good enough to be in the fight, just always like maybe a round or two where he doesn't win the round and that kind of costs him the fight. But, I saw something completely different last night, man. Marvin Vettori was in there. He was in that fight, especially the first two rounds. The first round, dropped Jack Hermansson. You don't see that too often.
Mm-hmm.
And then he jumps on top of him. I liked the ground and pound. I think he should have stuck with that. I don't know why he started grappling, but we did see some good things out of him. I forgot what round it was. It might have been the second round where Jack Hermansson went for the single leg takedown. He almost got it, and then Marvin Vettori, turned the other way, went to the side of him and tipped him over, like a cow, basically. And was able to get on top. So we saw some really good grappling from Marvin Vettori. Maybe that's because he was getting ready for the Jacare fight. But, dude, I was really impressed with Marvin Vettori, man. I thought he was going to struggle in there. I think he did a good job. I think in the championship rounds he lost some steam. But in that fifth round, dude, just able to regain his composure, come back, and do what he had to do to win that fight. That was a great performance from Marvin Vettori.
Yeah, he really showed a lot of heart, especially – a lot of guys after beating up somebody for 2 rounds and then you start losing, that's kind of harder to come back from, because you feel how much stronger you are than the guy. You feel like you have better positioning. You feel like you have more power on your punches. And then all of a sudden the tide changes against you. That's hard to overcome mentally. So that says a lot for Vettori. And, he's a really good fighter. He did go the distance with Adesanya, and that was a split decision loss. So we know he can hang with the champ, and he's only getting better. I think he's only 27 years old. I like him a lot as a fighter. Some of his interview stuff, he's still a little immature for me, but that's also me getting old. But it's cool. I think he's a really fun fighter to watch. And I think the reason why he started grappling in that first round is because he wanted to prove that he could hang with Hermansson on the ground, which obviously he could. It had to be really a struggle for Hermansson because he almost gets knocked out, almost gets finished in the first. He had to feel like he couldn't hang with Marvin on the feet, like power for power. And then he really struggled with the wrestling, man. Some of those takedowns were just so sloppy. He had his head to the outside, which is something I strongly encourage people not to do in MMA or even in jiu-jitsu. It just leaves you open for so many bad things. I talk about this a lot because if you get too high with the head outside single, there's guillotines. And if you get too low with the head outside, you get your back taken. So it, and then some of the takedowns he was chaining together just didn't go together. There's got to be a fluidity when you're chain wrestling. You have to use takedowns that kind of blend together, and he was a little all over the place with it. So he had to be frustrated because it was hard to get Marvin to the ground, and he was struggling on the feet. But then he started coming back and firing off those combinations in the third round. Like I said, I gave him the third. I think he also won the fourth. The fourth was close. Um, but I gave it to him. So I had it tied up. I didn't think it was as exciting as the Adesanya Gastelum fight because I know there was some comparison to that, and they did throw more strikes. But that fight, man, both guys almost got finished. Both of them got rocked like in every single round. That was one of the most exciting fights ever. But this was an awesome main event. So what do you do next, Jeff? You put Marvin Vettori in this top 5 and see how he does. Like who's waiting for him up there?
Man, that I'll be honest with you, Bill. I'd like to see Marvin Vettori. I'd like to see him in the top 5, but I'd also like to see him fight Uriah Hall next. They're both really good strikers, both coming off of huge wins. I think that's a great fight to put together, man. I think somebody goes to sleep in that one.
Yeah, well, Uriah Hall is fighting Chris Weidman shortly, I
Mm,
believe. He did call out Paulo Costa. I like that fight. That's a fun one.
yeah,
Um, Jared Cannonier is always an option.
no,
Robert.
no, don't fight Jared Cannonier. No, I don't think that. I don't think that goes well for Marvin Vittori, man. I'm a fan, but Jared Cannonier, coming off that loss, I don't think you want. I don't think anybody wants to fight him next.
Yeah. Well, he called out Costa. Not a lot of people want to fight him, so that's a fun fight. Maybe a Derek Brunson fight would be good, and really test that takedown defense. As for Hermansson, yeah, you probably maybe give him maybe Edmund Shabazian. Did they fight yet?
They may have, but don't quote me.
Hmm.
I'm not even like 50% sure. Um,
Yeah, or maybe an Ian Heinisch fight will be
oh, that
good.
would be really fun.
Yeah. All right, let's move along from this one. The co-main event definitely didn't go the way I thought it would, Jeff. I thought experience would play a big factor here because sometimes they bring the young lions in against the guys that are kind of looking to send out to pasture, but I didn't think that OSP was in that category. But Jamal Hill just showing he's the real deal, man. He hung in there. He was patient. OSP was really hard to hit in that first round, and you know Jamal didn't get frustrated, and his patience paid off getting that finish towards the end of the second round. Give me your thoughts on the co-main here.
Yeah, it looked like a very mature performance from Jamal Hill, man. He was really patient, and like you said, he didn't get frustrated. The first round, didn't not everything went his way in that first round, but then in that second round, just able to turn up the output a little bit, able to land some more shots, and we saw a lot more of that once he got OSP back against the cage. Just left him no room to evade any of those shots. So a really mature performance from Jamal Hill. I think that's a huge feather in anybody's cap in this light heavyweight division, man. OSP, he can be hot and cold, but he's nothing to scoff at. He's a very, very talented light heavyweight fighter.
Yeah, for sure. And you just got to wonder, like, how do you handle Jamal Hill now? Because he's only got, what, 9 fights, but he's just got to win over OSP. So you can only move further up the ladder here, but still not a ton of experience. What do you want to see next for him? Um,
Oh man, that's a tough question in this light heavyweight division, dude, because the top of this division is very, very grappling heavy. And I think that I haven't seen enough from Jamal Hill to even tell you if he'll struggle with these grapplers. But
mhm.
Unfortunately, OSP probably a top 10 guy. So I think you have to, unfortunately, throw Jamal Hill to one of the sharks here. I think I'd like to see him against Volkan Ozdemir.
That would
Um,
be fun.
yeah, I think that's a really fun fight. But yeah, dude, I'd like to see him against a grappler, but then you run into the problem that, like, if he fights like in Alir Latifi and he just gets laid on for 3 or 5 rounds,
Hmm.
and then Jamal Hill's star power just diminishes, and you kind of have to go back to square one with him. So,
Yeah.
so I
What do
think,
you think?
sorry.
What do you think about a Paul Craig fight for him?
Oh, that would be really fun.
I think that would be a good one because Paul's striking has looked a lot better. It looked really good against Shogun.
Mm.
He can grapple. I don't know if he has the wrestling to get Jamal Hill down, but he's got really slick jiu-jitsu. I think that'd be a fun fight. He's ranked just ahead of OSP. Then we also have Jimmy Crute. That would be a fun fight, but then you you lose a hot contender either way
Yeah.
with that one. Ryan Spann would be a fun fight because Ryan Spann would stand up with him, and that would just. But same problem. You lose a big prospect, or maybe not. Like sometimes you have these great fights, and then nobody. There's no loser really. But yeah, great performance from Jamal Hill. It proved me wrong because I was saying last week I was leaning towards OSP. I usually don't give predictions either. This is why, because I don't want people like betting money based on what I say, and then they get mad that they lost their money. um, in any case, Jeff, uh, somebody else who looked really impressive last night, Gabriel Benitez, with the first round TKO over Justin James. This was a nasty, just hit him like right in the solar plexus with that knee and then slept him. Like it was a vicious combination finish. Um, so give me your thoughts on Gabriel Benitez here.
Dude, this Gabriel Benitez dude is scary, man. Justin James was doing okay for about 2 minutes, and then Benitez able to read his combinations a little bit, and Benitez landing that vicious knee to the body, dude. That's a rib breaker knee, dude. Um, and James just immediately folded up like a lawn chair. And great finish from Benitez, man. That knee was beautiful, dude. Was able to read it looked like it was a cross coming in, able to just sidestep it and just dig that knee into the body, man. That was a great finish from Benitez.
Yeah, yeah. That has to suck, man. You get the wind knocked out of you with the knee, and then the knockout comes that much easier because you don't have any air in your lungs, so the brain is a little quicker to shut off. I'm not a scientist or anything, but it sounds about right. Uh, Roman Dolidze, split decision win over John Allen. I'm just reading now that this was a split decision. What were your thoughts on this fight, Jeff?
Bill, if you missed this fight, definitely go back and watch it. This was very exciting, very back and forth. I had the first round for John Allen. Was doing really well on the feet. And Roman Dolidze, when it went to the ground, Dolidze was able to defend himself, able to look for submissions. Then in the second round, it was all Dolidze. John Allen didn't have too much for him left. You could tell he was clearly tired from the grappling. And then in the third round, it was all Dolidze again. Allen just absolutely exhausted. He was still looking for submissions from the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
which was fantastic. But man, this fight was really, really exciting. Very back and forth.
Yeah, I did what? Did you think it should have been a split decision for Dolidze?
I'll be honest with you. No, I thought I had rounds 2 and 3 clearly for Dolidze.
Yeah, that's why I was kind of surprised to read that it was a split decision, because I think I remember seeing it the same way, but for some reason it's a little fuzzy. I'm gonna have to go back and watch that one again. But everybody listening, let me know what you thought about this fight and if you thought it was a clear win or if you thought it was a little closer and a split decision was fair. Jordan Leavitt, man. Uh, this was another one of those fights where they had the young contender series guy coming in against the grizzled veteran. And even though OSP got knocked out, he still had a better night than Matt Wyman, I think, because this is one of the most brutal knockouts I've seen in a long time. I don't know what Matt Wyman was thinking when he kind of like jumped guard. I guess he knew that he was going to get taken down and he wanted to end up in the guard, but that's just never a good idea, man. And, Leavitt did what he had to do. He brought Wyman over to the other side of the cage. He framed his face. So I don't know how many of you saw this, but he kind of wove his hand in front of Wyman's face so that when he slammed him, he was actually slamming his head into the mat, which is super brutal. And it put Matt Wyman out instantly. I mean, his face was frozen. It was scary. But yeah, man, credit to Jordan Leavitt, man. I mean, if you wonder if a guy is UFC caliber and he's able to do that to a Matt Wyman, the answer is yes. Give me your thought on this nasty finish, Jeff.
Dude, that was brutal. I felt so bad for Matt Wyman, but he also jumped the guard. So, I'm feeling very, very ambivalent about that. I don't know, man. I don't like people jumping guard, dude. Like that's literally what happens in a street fight. If somebody jumps guard, their head gets slammed into the pavement. At least that would be my go-to, is to slam somebody on their head if they jump the guard in a street fight. But dude, I can't even tell you what I think about Jordan Leavitt, because that whole sequence lasted about 30 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So, but good for Leavitt. He left Wyman in a heap on the cage. But yeah, dude, it was just scary. And Bill, you knew the slam was coming. Leavitt, he walked across the cage, Matt Hughes style.
Mm-hmm.
Slammed him. It was just so bad, dude. I felt so bad for Wyman here.
Yeah, I can't remember the last slam knockout I've seen. It may have been Matt Hughes. The only one more brutal and will always be the most brutal slam knockout is Rampage Jackson in Pride. Over. Oh wow, why do I not remember this?
I can't remember either.
It'll come to me.
Yeah, I just remember that it was an arm triangle. It was a triangle, and the power bomb lift.
Yeah. One thing you wouldn't see Matt Hughes do is do a flip and a split after slamming somebody unconscious. Leavitt is a character, man. The only way I can think to describe him is flamboyant, I guess.
Yeah, Bill, I've been watching.
Eccentric.
I've been watching Seinfeld, because you recommended it to me, and I feel like Jordan Leavitt kind of reminds me of Kramer.
Okay.
Like if Kramer could pick up people and slam them unconscious.
That's a scary thought. Yeah. That's a scary dude, man. You don't want to get in there with somebody that's going to beat you up and then do gymnastics. Like, that can't be a good feeling. But he's a beast, man. He was an interesting character on the Contender series too. So now what do you do with a guy like this? He's coming into a stacked division and again, not super experienced. I definitely wouldn't put him in the top 15 yet, because this division is just too stacked. It's not like Jamal Hill where he's going to move up the ladder really quick. Like, lightweight has 100 killers. But somebody just outside of that top 15, maybe the number 20 guy or something. This guy's going to be, he's got a highlight reel for life now with that slam knockout. And then he said he's like, yeah, I practiced that a lot. Like, I hope he practices it on on a grappling dummy and not another human being. Because you'll run out of training partners real quick. So that was that. And then Luis Smolka and Jose Quinones. This was a really fun fight, Jeff. And I thought Quinones was going to run away with this one because he was kind of dominating on the feet in the first round. I really liked his clinch style, his standing grappling. I thought he was all over Smolka, but then it got to the ground and he was like a fish out of water, Jeff. I don't know what he was doing. He was like flipping around. He was giving his back up. He was getting mounted like it was nothing. And it's like, it baffles me how somebody can be so good at clinch and standing grappling and have so little awareness when the fight gets to the ground. Usually you see the opposite, where, guys can be really good on the ground, but then standing and in the clinch and wrestling, they struggle a lot. I think it's rare that you see it this way, but give me your thoughts on this fight.
Yeah, dude, the story of two fights here. That first round was all Quinones. Bill, I agree with you. I actually thought he was going to run away with this one really early. And then Luis Smolka able to come back in that second round. And, dude, it's crazy how in the same fight, we saw two totally different fighters in terms of Quinones. That first round looked fantastic on the feet, landing the right shots, had Smolka cut up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as it went to the ground, it looked like he'd never fought before.
Yeah.
He was giving up his back and covering up and just did nothing to get out of that.
Mm-hmm.
Once Smolka was on his back. So good, good for Luis Smolka. I'll always be a fan of his, Bill, because he liked a tweet that I posted one time.
That's a good reason to support somebody.
But hey, man, my man Smolka got the win. So I'm really excited about that. Good for him, dude. This bantamweight division right now, it's in that state of fluctuation where something different's always happening. Dominic Cruz just announced that he wants to come back to take on I forgot what his name.
Casey Kenny.
Yeah, Casey Kenny. Thank you. So yeah, dude. Now's the time to be making a statement. So good for Luis Smolka. Good win for him.
Yeah, Ricardo Arona. That's who Rampage Jackson slam knocked out. So Ricardo Arona went for a triangle. Rampage Jackson did what they tell you not to do. Like don't slam somebody trying to triangle you because it just makes a triangle tighter. And Rampage Jackson is like, cool story, bro. He's like, or I could just break this guy in half and slam him through the canvas.
Yeah, they can't triangle you if they're unconscious. So,
man, Rampage Jackson was so much fun to watch when he was a light heavyweight.
Yeah, but once he got to heavyweight, it all went out the window.
It was all downhill from there, just like Jake Collier and Gian Villante. Those two guys is like these are two guys who will both probably be middleweights. And like, because Villante still carried a little extra weight. I think Collier was a middleweight at one point. Remember they showed they had a picture of him where he was like super thin, and then I think he took some time off and he came back as a heavyweight.
Yeah, I think he's been hanging out with Johnny Hendricks way too much, man. Eating that Texas barbecue.
Yeah. So yeah, he went away for 3 years and then he came back as a heavyweight. I'm pretty sure he was a middleweight because he was shredded and now he's a big boy. Anyway,
John Villante looked good even as a light heavyweight, though.
Yeah, he did, and he's super athletic. I don't know why, and he hits really hard. Like I don't know why he would sacrifice all that, but he's an Italian guy from New York, so I'm sure he loves pasta and pizza and stuff, and he doesn't want to sacrifice all that during the training camps. So, and he's been struggling at heavyweight. This is 2 losses in a row. I would like to see him go back to light heavyweight or, Bellator.
Wow. Man, you're not pulling any punches, Bill.
Well, he's lost 4 of his last 5 fights. His last win was a split decision over Ed Herman. And then a few losses before that as well. So I think in order to stay in the UFC, he should move back down to 205. If he wants to stay at heavyweight, like there's a lot of guys doing that in Bellator, like guys that are not really heavyweights fighting at heavyweight. And that's where you go to do that. One fight we skipped over, Ilia Topuria with the first round knockout over Damon Jackson. Man, this was a nasty combination. This guy is so fast, so powerful, and super young too, Jeff. Damon Jackson, we know, is a really good grappler, submitted Mirsad Bektik in his last fight. But give me your thoughts on Topuria here.
Dude, I was impressed with Topuria. The way he backed up Jackson to the cage and then lands an uppercut with his right hand and a nasty left to the body, which just same deal as a similar reaction as to the Benitez James fight, man. You could see Jackson just folded up and, his hands immediately went down to his body and, Topuria just unloaded from there. Great finish for Topuria. It always worries me because Jackson went straight down, Bill. And when that happens, you see the knee bend back a little bit. And I always get worried when I see that, that's going to tear up tendons and stuff. So hopefully Jackson's okay. But, man, a great finish for Topuria.
Yeah, and he's young, man, 23 years old, 10-0. He's going to be a problem in this division. The only time he's been to a decision was his UFC debut against Youssef Zalal. So maybe that was just a little bit of nerves, but this guy is a killer, man. Most of his wins by submission. Now we see he's got knockout power too. He's a really fun addition to this featherweight division. So I'm looking forward to seeing him fight again. Fun little card. The only thing that frustrated me about it was how they kept spacing everything out and dragging things on and playing previews for fights that are weeks away. I never know what fights are happening until we sit down to talk about them the week before, Jeff. And I do that, one, because I'm a busy guy. I don't have time to keep up with everything and when all these fights are happening. And two, especially now, like these fights change so often. It's like, why bother knowing what the entire fight card is any more than a week in advance? But we got another pay-per-view next weekend, Jeff. So any other thoughts on UFC Vegas 16 or UFC on ESPN 19, however you're keeping track?
No, yeah, I thought it was a good card despite there being fewer fights. But yeah, Bill, I had the same issue as you. I don't like how spaced out it was. I also don't like how late this card was, considering it wasn't a pay-per-view. Main card started at 10. Bill, trying to go to sleep at that time.
Me too. Jeff, this pay-per-view is awesome. I'm looking at this card now for the first time in its entirety, and this is top to bottom. This is very stacked. I'm having trouble deciding where I want to start here, but I guess let's start with the main event. Deiveson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno both having a quick turnaround. They just fought 2 weeks ago, and now they're getting back in there for that flyweight title. It's kind of surprising, especially because Figueiredo missed weight for his first title opportunity, and now he's going to turn around and do it again in 3 weeks' time to defend against a killer like Brandon Moreno. But breathing a little life back into this flyweight division, Jeff?
I guess. I'm glad the rest of the card is. I'm glad you're excited for the rest of the card, Bill, because I don't care for this main event, man. I'm just gonna tell you straight up, Bill.
Please do.
Dude, I can't get off the couch for Deiveson Figueiredo, man. Like, the fact that he missed weight when he was about to challenge for a title, just it left a sour taste in my mouth, dude. Like, I'm just waiting for the next time this guy misses weight. That's the only reason I want to watch this main event. Other than that, like,
it might be this week.
I don't doubt it. I do not doubt it. I mean, that fast of a turnaround, 2 weeks. You know, I don't think it's a good idea, man. You know, credit to him and Brandon Moreno for agreeing to this fight. Uh,
Uh-huh.
but yeah, dude. I mean, I'm curious to see how this turns out. But dude, Davison Figueiredo, you know, as much as we knock him for the missed weight and stuff, when he is on weight and he's in there, he's a fucking killer, dude.
Yeah.
He can knock people out, put them to sleep, submit them. His game is very complete. He's like a more vicious Mighty Mouse Johnson, which, you know, maybe it's a little early to be saying that and making that comparison.
Uh-huh.
But you know, so far the same guys that Mighty Mouse beat, because you know Mighty Mouse beat everybody.
Uh-huh.
Those same guys are the ones being knocked out and put to sleep by Davis and Figueredo. Uh,
Yeah.
so you know, as much as I knock him, he is a very scary champion to watch.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm usually against the quick turnarounds too, because it leaves the opportunity for excuses, but that's not the case in this fight because both guys are turning around in the same amount of time. So that can't be an excuse like, oh, well, you know, I just fought 3 weeks ago and I just cut weight 3 weeks ago, so I wasn't on my game. Well, so did your opponent. So that excuse goes out the window. This co-main event, Jeff, this could headline any fight night. This could headline a pay-per-view. Tony Ferguson and Charles Oliveira. This is a really fun fight. Oliveira, I believe, has the record for most submissions in the UFC. Tony Ferguson, we know, has some really slick, really unorthodox submissions. Darce chokes out of nowhere. I would love to see this one hit the ground. Oliveira's striking has really improved. We know Tony Ferguson is a monster on the feet. Give me your thoughts on this co-main event.
I'm very excited, man. For me, I'm more excited for this fight than the main event itself.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, Charles Oliveira and Tony Ferguson, they actually have very similar body shapes. You know, they both have those long, lanky arms that help with submissions. And you know, Charles Oliveira's jujitsu is for real, dude.
Mm-hmm.
What is he? What is he at? Like 15 wins by submission in the UFC, some ridiculous number. Uh,
Yeah, whatever it is, it's the most.
yeah, yeah. And Tony Ferguson, man, able to mix it up with anybody in there. Um, you know, I just don't know how Charles Oliveira is going to fare on the feet,
Uh-huh.
because Charles Oliveira's, you know, on the feet, his offense is very rudimentary, whereas Tony Ferguson comes out with all this crazy stuff, you know, kicks out of nowhere, um, you know, handstands into kicks and stuff. So this fight's going to be very exciting, no matter where it ends up. Very, very exciting fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. If you look at Oliveira's record, submitted Kevin Lee, knocked out Jared Gordon, knocked out Nick Lentz, submitted David Tamer, submitted Jim Miller, submitted Christos Giagos, submitted Clay Guida. Like, that's his last, what was that, 8 fights? 7 fights? That's ridiculous. But then you look at Tony Ferguson's last few fights, besides the Gaethje fight, and it's just as impressive. I can't wait for this fight. That's the only one that I would really be upset if it were to fall through. And then if something happens with the main event, you could bump this up to headline a pay-per-view, no problem, in my opinion. I think you do. I think you do just as many sales as you do with Figueiredo and Moreno headlining it. Then we got Hanato Moicano and Rafael Fiziev. That's a fun fight. Jacare and Kevin Holland. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't know what the story is with Kevin Holland because he did have COVID. Like, I don't know if he's training. I don't know if he's able to make weight. Who knows what's going on there? So let's not even get too deep in the weeds. And here's an interesting one, Jeff. Cyril Gahn and Junior Dos Santos. This is very interesting because we know Cyril Gahn, he's only got 6 fights, very inexperienced, but we know that he's got knockout power in this heavyweight division. We know he can grapple. He has one of the few heel hook finishes ever in the heavyweight division, I believe. And Dos Santos, you know, veteran of 30 fights. So this is a fun one for me.
Yeah, dude. This whole main card, man. Junior Dos Santos versus Cyril Gahn. I think that's a very tall order for Cyril Gahn, but he can hang. I feel like he can hang. He's got a lot of power in his hands too. Um, I think he's somebody that we've kind of both been watching, Bill. Kevin Holland versus Ronaldo Souza Jacare. I'm in the same boat. I don't know. I don't think that one's going to really materialize. But Renato Moicano's on here, Bill. Very good fighter in this lightweight division. Somebody that he had a hiatus for like what was it, like 2 years, almost 3 years, I think. But
Yeah.
very exciting nonetheless, man. Before that hiatus, he was on a tear. So I'm excited to see him back in there. And Bill, even the prelims look fantastic. The prelims could be a main card for another pay-per-view.
Yeah, it could, or at least a fight night. You got Mackenzie Dern and Virna Jandiroba, so that'll be an interesting one because Jandiroba is a grappler, I believe. Yeah, 13 wins by submission, including her last fight, submitted Felice Herrig, and then submitted Mallory Martin before that. Her only loss was Carla Esparza, and that was a pretty close fight from what I remember. So that's a fun one if you're into grappling. I'm not too excited about seeing those two on the feet. But hey, I guess it's got to start there. I wouldn't mind if they started kneeling for this one personally, Jeff. like they're just starting jiu-jitsu. Tisha Torres and Angela Hill. Long layoff for Angela Hill. It's been like a month since she fought.
Yeah, Bill, I thought you retired for a minute there.
Yeah. Oh, did I miss the announcement? I'm gonna go through the rest of the card, Jeff, and give me two fights that you're looking forward to the most. We got Cub Swanson and Daniel Pineda. That's a really fun one. Jing Liang Lee and Dwight Grant. Chase Hooper is back after I think he's coming off his first loss. He's fighting Peter Barrett. Carl Roberson and Dalcha Linguiambula. Nailed it. And then Sergey Spivak and Jared Vanderea. What's sticking out to you, Jeff?
Bill, I'm really liking that Li Jingliang versus Dwight Grant fight. That looks awesome. And the Carl Roberson fight. I really like those two on the early prelims. Carl Roberson, definitely a very exciting fighter to watch. Good on the feet, but he's got some grappling as well. And dude, Li Jingliang, we actually haven't heard from him in a while, but a very talented Chinese fighter at welterweight. And Dwight Grant is no joke either in that welterweight division. So those two fights I'm really excited for on these early prelims.
Yeah. I'm going to say, I want to give my sleeper fight pick. My gut says Pineda and Cub Swanson. Pineda's coming off of TKO over Herbert Burns, and Swanson, I believe, has a couple of losses in a row. Man, I can't see this fight being boring. All right, so Swanson hasn't fought in a year, and his last time he fought was his win over Kron Gracie, which was that was here in Tampa because I was there. So yeah, that's what I'm going with. That's my sleeper fight pick, Jeff. Cub Swanson, Daniel Pineda. Any other thoughts on this card?
Yeah, Bill, I'm waiting for you to bring up our boy here. Who hopefully his fight is still on. Billy Quarantillo is fighting Gavin Tucker on the early prelims.
Yeah, I hope it is still on too, but it's not on the card that I'm looking at on SureDog right now. Where are you looking, Jeff?
Oh, see, I'm on Wikipedia.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I knew that fight was supposed to be December 12th, but I don't see it on here, and that concerns me. But hopefully, if something fell through, Billy's ready, and there's a couple of other featherweight fights, so hopefully he's still gonna cut weight if his fight is off, and be ready to fill in, because anything could happen with the COVID tests and everything like that. So I hope the fight is still on, though, because that's going to be a really fun one. I believe Gavin Tucker has never been finished before, so I know Billy likes those kinds of challenges where he wants to fight the guys that have never been finished and never been knocked out, and try to knock them out, or never been submitted, try to submit them. Those kinds of things motivate him. I know he's been training really hard, and it's a Billy Q fight, so it's always going to be a fun one. But yeah, I retract my previous statement of I would only be disappointed if the Tony Ferguson fight was canceled. I will also be very disappointed if Billy Q's fight is canceled. Yeah, so, man, I'm really excited for this card, Jeff. I want it to happen like now. I want to watch it tonight.
For sure, man. And that Billy Q versus Gavin Tucker fight, they were actually supposed to fight in April, I think. I think we talked about that back in April, and then it got canceled because, of COVID. So hopefully that is not the case this weekend coming up, Bill. I'm excited for this card now too. After we're talking about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun one. Man, I want to watch this card tonight. That's the only problem I'm having with it. In any case, let's talk a little bit of booze, Jeff. So, Whiskey Advocate, which is, one of the more prominent whiskey websites, they just released their top 20 whiskeys of 2020. So what this is they're not necessarily new brands, but a brand puts out a different aged. So for example, the number one is Larceny Barrel Proof. So a lot of people probably familiar with Larceny, but the Barrel Proof came out in 2020. And then number two, obviously everybody knows Knob Creek, but Knob Creek just released a 12-year this year. So anytime this list comes out, Jeff, and I've talked about a bunch of whiskeys that have been on this list, and I've had a bunch of these as well. A lot of ryes on here, which is surprising. A few scotches. Macallan 15-year jumps out to me. The Ardbeg Wee Beastie is number 6 here. I've had that one. That one tastes like a liquid brisket. It's delicious, but it's super rich, like super oily. So you can't do too many of those. But that's a nice, like, cold night sipper. It's like super smoky, very like rich, like kind of smoked meat flavors to it. It's really like drinking a Texas barbecue. But what ends up happening, Jeff, is these whiskeys end up on this list, and then the prices all go up because a lot of people see this and a lot of people talk about it, and then they become hard to find. So that's why I'm sharing it with you guys. If you want to take a look at it, because if there's anything on here that you've had and you enjoyed, I would suggest stocking up on it because it's going to be hard to come by in the near future. There's a lot of recognizable things on this list. If you look back at last year's, the number one was the George Dickel Bottle and Bond. I've talked about that whiskey a bunch on the show. The number 4 was the Heaven Hill. That's one of my favorite whiskeys, the Heaven Hill 4-year. That one had become really hard to find. It's actually still difficult to find. So if you go through the list of the last couple of years, you could see things that are hard to find on the shelf, especially here in Florida anyway. So that's it. That's the booze talk for the show. Cover that portion, check that box,
Hold on, Bill, because listen, the holidays are coming up. This is probably one of the last weeks to start ordering stuff for it to be at your house on time for Christmas and New Year's and all that. So, Bill, what would be your top 3 if you had to give them as gifts off that list?
Off of the 2020 list?
Yeah, why not?
Let's see. That's a difficult question, Jeff, because It depends who I'm giving it to. I I I actually really enjoy like helping people find what their flavor is for whiskey, especially like people who tell me that they drink Jack and Coke or like Captain and Coke and that's their go-to drink. It's like, all right, well let's try and pull out like what kind of flavors you like. Do you like stuff that's sweet? Do you like stuff that's smoky?
All right, I'll narrow the search for you. So, how about three of these that you would get as gifts for people, let's say universally, like people who have a more refined palate for whiskey,
Mm-hmm.
but that it can also be enjoyed by people who are maybe newer to it, maybe a little bit scared of that burn that comes with it.
Okay. So I'm definitely looking at the Macallan 15 because you can't go wrong with Macallan. I feel like it's really approachable Scotch. It doesn't have that peatiness that a lot of people dislike with Scotch. It's smooth. It's got some sweetness to it. I'm also looking at this Aberfeldy 18 just because I know the Aberfeldy makes a really nice Scotch, so I'm sure an 18-year is going to be really good. And then I would look at the Knob Creek 12. I feel like that wouldn't be overwhelming. It's got a higher proof, but somebody who's not as experienced could sip it on ice and still get a lot of that sweetness from the bourbon. So those are the three I would pick to give as gifts. But again, if I knew somebody like really liked that smoky, peaty flavor, I would go with the Ardbeg Wee Beastie. But yeah, a lot of fun stuff on here. A few things I haven't tried: the Kilbeggan Irish whiskey, and then there's a Compass box on here, the Peat Monster. So I'm sure this one's super smoky. Yeah, I'm excited about this list, Jeff. Now I want to go to the liquor store and I want UFC 256 to be tonight. Yeah, so that's that. Pretty much covered it all, Jeff. The only thing to do is to wish you a happy early birthday because your birthday is going to fall in between this episode and next week's. And I don't know what next week is looking like yet. I might be out of town. So a happy birthday to you, my friend.
Thanks, Bill. It's actually one of the first years in my adult life that my birthday falls on a Friday. So now I don't know what to do with myself. I have the whole weekend to just go out and have fun, but I want to stay home and watch UFC 256.
Yeah,
I run into that problem.
sounds like a good way to celebrate to me. I wouldn't mind if my birthday fell the day before UFC 256. Because I don't have an excuse to just stay home and watch it. Like, come on, it's my birthday. I just want to stay home.
Yeah.
Well, happy birthday, Jeff. I hope your every birthday wish is fulfilled this coming Friday. And I think that's it. Well, you want to put a bow on this thing? You got anything else you want to get off your chest?
Yeah, I think that's it, man. So happy weekend to everybody and enjoy UFC 256. I know I will.
Yeah, I know I will too. And hopefully Billy Q's on it. And hopefully that Tony Ferguson fight doesn't fall apart. In any case, if you want to wish Jeff a happy birthday, you can do so at @animal_Wilson on Twitter and Instagram. And you guys know how to get a hold of me. It's at MMA on the Rocks everywhere else. And that's all we got for this week. So until next time, cheers, everybody. Goodbye.